we go to apologies for absence.
Yeah, we've had apologies for absence from Gareth Ford, Richard Jarvis, Miles Langston and Pip Reason.
Sorry, I missed that. You cut out.
Sorry, Chair. We've had apologies from Gareth Ford, Richard Jarvis, Miles Langston and Pip Reason.
Jarvis is here.
Well, he sent his apologies to me. I'm sorry, Richard. I couldn't see that.
He's just sorry, Richard. He's just sorry, just generally.
Yeah, that's right.
I've just heard a message just now before I come on from Tim Bull as well. I don't know if that's counted because it's come to the chair and not to the clerk, but Tim Bull has given his apologies as well.
Well, shall I give him Richard's slot then, since Richard's...
Yeah, give him Richard's a slot. That's what Richard was doing. He was sharing his apologies with other people. Right. Minutes of the monthly meeting held on the 9th of November 2021. Have we all had a chance to look at these minutes of the agenda? Are we happy to accept them? Minutes of the special meeting held on the 24th of November 2021. Everybody happy to accept those? If you haven't got any objections, we move on to that. A minutes of the other special meeting held on the 3rd of December 2021. A lot of meetings. Okay, are we happy with that? Right. So if we move on to the clerk's report. Sorry, Rebecca, do you want to come in?
Have I missed declarations of interest?
No, so I've skipped over that. I'm a bit non-compass this morning, so this afternoon.
That's okay. I need to declare an interest in the finance report when it comes up. Prejudicial because I'm in receipt of payment. I just wanted to also use this opportunity to make the point that I'm in receipt of care costs, and I will be going on now. And I just wanted to raise councillors' awareness of that possibility, because I didn't know it existed until I did training on equality and diversity. And so if anybody would benefit from care costs, Paul can let you know what the policy is, but I think we should all be aware it exists.
Yeah, thanks for raising the profile of that. I think that's a very useful point. Okay. Will, are you trying to come in or no?
Yeah, I'm just saying that probably a block declaration of everyone who's in receipt of any payment. That right? Because I think Paul's paying all the, so it's everyone really.
Okay. So if we can
sorry, Chair, that'll come through next month because the payments that are on the finance report are November's payments. So December payments will be in January.
Yeah.
Sorry, thank you.
Fucking business.
Okay, so can we go on to the clerk's report?
Yeah, nothing to report this year, month, Chair, other than to wish everyone a happy Christmas.
Thank you, Clerk.
Happy Christmas, Steve.
Thank you. Happy Christmas, Steve.
Yeah, bye back at you, Steve. Merry Christmas.
So the next thing then is the chair's report, which I will read out as is my custom. Okay. Before I start the chair's report formally, I'd just like to say right at the very beginning as well, I wanted to have it noted that I've been very pleased with the latest newsletter that we've had, and also the latest iteration of our website, which I think is really looking really professional now, really competent. If you have a look around, I really sort of feel that when it comes to the website, although there's still some work to be done, I think we're standing head and shoulders really when it comes to other community councils in Wales. And I would just like to have it noted in relation to the good work that particularly Claire and Pip and SA1 have done in relation to that, because I think it looks really good. And I actually had somebody, which I thought was quite amazing, to be honest. Somebody actually just stopped me on the seafront the other day and congratulated me on the newsletter, which I thought was very heartening. And it goes to show there was a decent likeness even with my hat on. So if we could just note that, and then I'll go on to my more formal chair's report. So during this month, there's been a lot of activity that I've been involved in as chair of Mumbles Community Council, such as the marking of Remembrance Sunday and the highly successful switch on of the Christmas illuminations. However, in this report, I will concentrate on substantive developments that contribute to the overall strategic projects that Mumbles Community Council is currently involved in. One of the key pieces of news, not news to all the people around the screen today, is that we have received quite a significant amount of press coverage with, on the 18th of November, our skateboard park proposal received unanimous support from Swansea Council Cabinet, who agreed to lease the land at Cloynderw where the current mini half-pipe is, Mumbles Community Council, and stated that they would do everything that they could to fast-track the process. This is a very positive bit of news for this particular initiative, and it helps us put the delay of the judicial review behind us. Our next step is to open up discussions with our build partners and other stakeholders in order to take matters forward in a timely manner. Another major project, which is at a critical phase at the moment, is the proposed developments at Underhill Park. We are now in position where tenders have been returned, and Mumbles Community Association have considered these tenders with a view to hopefully progressing to building work early in the new year. We are under no false illusions, however, that there will continue to be challenges ahead, but I feel that we have made it to this stage represents a significant achievement in itself, and it is important that we continue to push progress forward. We are also now starting to make significant progress in relation to our relationship with Austrian Community Association and how we will work together with them in concerning taking over the lease of the Austrian Hall. Unfortunately, there's been quite a bit of slippage with this negotiation, precipitated by the restrictions imposed by the COVID pandemic. Obviously, this has led to the hall being closed in a significant period of time and their staff being furloughed. But I feel it is very important that as a community council, we build on the wealth of experience and knowledge that OCA have as an organisation and who have run this key community asset since the 1970s. Following on from last month's report, I am pleased to recount that in relation to the developments of the cycle path at Mayhalls, we have now had positive contact between the Safe Mayhalls Road Campaign Group and the Highways Department in the City and County of Swansea Council. Initial contact was made with the campaign group when they wrote to the council based on misinformation that they picked up via social media. I thought it was important that we contact them directly to clarify the situation. This proved to be a very fruitful meeting, as it cleared the air in relation to some of these misunderstandings that have been built up due to this misinformation on social media. City and County of Swansea are due to conduct a safety audit of the Mayhalls Road lane development in the near future. I think they might have actually conducted it by now. And hopefully by the end of January, it is hoped that we might provide some focus for discussion and negotiation, that it becomes obvious that not all members of the group are diametrically opposed to the cycle path development, but have concerns that they would like to see discussed with us as a community council. So that is my report. I don't know if anybody's got any questions or any points they want to raise. If not, I'll move on to the next point, which is a financial report, which is Paul, I take it?
Yes, thanks, Chair. Yeah,
Sorry,
very brief.
Rebecca's trying to come in, sorry.
Haven't I got to go, as it's a prejudicial interest?
Oh.
Steve, what's the procedure?
Yeah, while you're discussing the payments,
Just-
yes. I need
Just that
payments.
bit, isn't it?
All right, well, I'll leave you to kick me out at the appropriate time, Steve.
Yeah. Well, are
Yeah,
you
if we could
just about to
do
do
that bit
those,
now.
right? Yeah, there'll be a moment. I'll just pop Rebecca in the waiting room and then there we are. She's in the waiting room now.
Okay, thanks, Chair. Yeah, just very quickly through the report. It's the standard sort of report. So we've got the you start off with a list of payments that have been made in November. Probably I not much else to say on unless anybody's got any questions. If not, then we can have Rebecca back in.
Questions? Anybody got any questions? Anybody? No, and if that's not the case, Steve, can you let Rebecca back in?
Should be coming in now.
Okay, so we've got also got the list of the Barclay card purchases in November as well. A piece of income coming in from Mumblesfest for the sponsorship of the event. The bank balances are shown there, just under 900,000 in the bank. And there's also a summary of the budget monitoring situation as at the end of October. Expenditure's reasonably, well, it was quite low at this for that time of the year, but as we've as everybody knows, there are some significant projects which are moving forward, and hopefully there will be expenditure against those before the end of the year. That's the report. Very brief, very quick.
Okay, anybody got any questions, any points they want to raise in relation to Paul's report? That's the case. Can we the report be noted? Okay, we're happy to accept that. So now we go on to the outturn report 2020-2021. Is this you again, Paul?
Yeah, that's me again. Thanks, Chair. Firstly, can I apologise for the lateness of this report coming? Obviously, it should have come much earlier in the year, but because of the new committee structure not being agreed partway through the year, I had to get the system up and running for the current year so that budget monitoring reports could go out, and then I had to go back and redo last year's outturn, so that was in the new committee structure as well. So that's the reason for the delay. The report starts off with the outturn for last year, shows an underspend of just shy of 650,000. I think it's fair to say last year was an unusual year. Unusual because it was difficult to spend things because of lockdowns and COVID. And also there are as I said previously, the significant projects which are in the budget, but they weren't spent last year, so they'll be carried forward to the current year, and hopefully we will see movement on those, as I said earlier. So the first recommendation is for council to approve the outturn for 2020-21.
Yeah, okay with that. Objections? Carried.
Okay, thanks. Move on to end of year environment. The financial regulations say that any overspends and any underspends should be offset against each other during the year and at the year end. So what's shown in Appendix 2 is a list of environment which has been agreed by each committee. So it sort of clears any overspends from movements within existing budgets. And it also then there's some small amounts which are being charged against the contingency fund. And there's a summary of the contingency at the bottom of that sheet, which shows that there's a balance of just over 7,200 left on the contingency at the end of the year. And as you see later on, I've got use for that 7,200. So the first thing is to recommend the approval of the end of year environment.
Yeah, I've seen that. I'm okay with that. Everybody okay?
Yeah.
Any problems? No, that's great.
Okay, thanks. And the final thing of this report then is at the end of every year, the council needs to look at its general and earmark reserves. Again, at the financial regs and the financial reserves policy, council is the only decision-making body for reserves. earmark reserves are there for specific projects, so they're carried forward for the specific reasons. General reserves there are to meet unforeseen expenditures. So anything that may arise which isn't in the budget, or anything which is caused maybe by storms, things like that. So that's what general reserves are held for. The financial reserves policy, which a council agreed last year, said that the council should hold general reserves, which are the equivalent of 6 months of the annual running costs of the council. So it means that we can carry on paying bills for salaries, bills for buildings, anything like that, for a period of 6 months from our general reserves, if that did become necessary. Hopefully it wouldn't, but just in case. So based on the current year's budget, 6 months of the annual running cost of the council is equivalent to 74,850, which is more than we held at the end of last financial year. So there's a shortfall of 15,500 in the general reserves now, based on that policy. I've recommended there a way of making up that shortfall. One is by using the balance on the contingency fund of just over 7,200. And the other is to use the remaining balance on the COVID-19 support budget, which is up around 9,200. If both those amounts were transferred into general reserves, then that does cover the amount that the reserves policy suggests the council should hold, and it would be slightly over it. So that would be my recommendation. If council agrees that, then we are covered for our general reserves, and then all other earmark reserves will be carried forward for the specific purposes that they have been set up.
Okay, thank you for that, Paul. Very helpful. Rebecca Fogarty.
Thanks. I mean, firstly, just a huge thank you to Paul for a phenomenal amount of work that's gone into all of this. And
thank you.
Wanted to note the things that will be carried forward. You know, we need to have that in our mind when we're looking at the budget for next year, so that we're not double allocating again. The question I had for you, Paul, was I support your proposal to bring up our general reserves. Obviously, with COVID at the moment, we are staring down the barrel of a new variant. In the hopefully unlikely event that we did decide to stand up our COVID-19 support group again, would it be straightforward for us to move some of that back into a pot that could be used for those purposes?
Yeah, there is that option. You could move it back from general reserves, or you could look for any spare budgets within the current year's budgets, which is where the COVID support budget came from last year. Last year it was where things didn't happen because the council wasn't allowed to have festivals and other events. So I think there's scope for finding out any amount that may be required from within the existing budget.
Great, thank you.
Thank you for that.
Okay, so the recommendation then is to approve the movements to and from reserves that's highlighted in Appendix 3, and including the transfer to general reserves that I've outlined.
Carrie, you're on mute, Carrie. Sorry.
I think that was a vote for, was it?
Oh, it was a vote for.
Sorry, I thought we were asking for a vote.
Yeah,
so I put my hand up.
sorry. I thought you were so animated the way you put your hand up. I thought you would say something. Okay, so are we all in favour of accepting that? All in favour? Thank you much. And again, can we have it noted with the thanks to Paul for all the hard work that he's put into that. It's greatly.
Thanks, Paul.
Thank you. Thanks all.
Okay, so if we go on to now point 10, which is Newton Park baseball hoop. This is recommended.
Basketball.
Yeah, what is a baseball hoop?
I'd love to know what baseball hoop is.
Oh, sorry, as I said, I'm a bit basketball hoop. MCC accepts Swansea Council's quote to supply and install a basketball hoop post, ring, backboard and net, plus thermoplastic line markings for a half court on existing tarmac area, which will be recovered at a cost of no more than £4,000. Anybody want to talk to that or anything else, or did we just, Rebecca?
Yeah, I just wanted to make council aware of some of the discussion that happened at committee. So a bit of a survey has been carried out with local residents. Those that answered the door on a door knock were largely in favour, quite an overwhelming majority in favour. We dropped a leaflet, a letter through to those that didn't answer the door, and we have had a handful of people get in touch to express objections on the basis of noise, potential risk of antisocial behaviour. The discussion at committee was that we think that there are, people hanging about in our parks with very little to do already. Better to give them something to do, more likely to reduce the antisocial behaviour. But the line there in the agenda about Louise putting together an engagement plan going forward was based on her experiences professionally. She would be able to advise us on working with PCSOs, etc., and keeping our residents informed about how we're keeping an eye on that potential risk. So that's why we're supporting the proposal.
Okay, thank you for that, Rebecca. Will?
Thanks, Chair, and yeah, thanks everyone for, I think this is a really good project to bring forward, improving the facilities for youngsters and adults if they want to go and play basketball as well. So it's great to see. I have been contacted by a couple of houses directly, just outside the school gates actually, by two people who are concerned, but I made them aware that at committee we spoke about potentially having a review. So I would like that minuted, just because we did agree that we'd look into a sort of review the situation in 6 months, and Rebecca mentioned that we might want to do a review of all of our facilities every 6 months. So if we could have it minuted that we will review the situation and maybe collate any noise complaints and speak to PCSOs, but I think it really should be led by our engagement with the PCSOs and not hearsay. So so that's just something I wanted minuted. But yeah, great, and hopefully we can get this fitted as soon as possible, and everyone can get playing basketball.
Okay, thank you for that. We'll get on the cloud, make sure that that's minuted. Steve, did you want to come in?
Yeah, if you can note a review, I can minute notes of thanks, which obviously I have done twice for this meeting. But if Will wants to amend the motion, then he needs to put an amendment.
Okay, it's just to liaise with PCSOs in 6 months so they could report on any complaints they've had from neighbours.
Okay. Okay.
Is that in addition to the work that Louise is doing? Because the part 2 of the thing is that Councillor Louise Thomas draw up an ongoing users and residents engagement programme.
Okay, maybe actually that's a good point. Maybe Louise could build that into part of the programme then. Okay, yeah. Cool. As long as that's covered, and it's obviously recorded, so that's great. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Well, Sarah?
Yeah, I'm a little concerned that Councillor Thomas has been involved in this, because she has stated quite strongly her bias against basketball courts in one of the meetings, saying that they were the way to drugs and crime. So I wonder how unbiased she will actually be, and I am concerned about that. It is a matter of record. It's on one of the recordings of our meetings.
Okay, Louise, I don't know whether you want to respond to that.
Yes, it's to do with the Langland tennis courts. It was nothing to do with Newton, so there you go.
Okay.
No, I'm sorry, I have to come back on that. The actual quote was that you didn't want basketball courts because they were the
okay.
Dan Langland.
Okay, Sarah.
Dan Langland, thank you.
I think what we can do is we can review the meeting in question.
Yeah, I think you better.
Well, this is what I mean. We can review the meeting in question. If it can be deemed that was the statement, then I think that would be deemed as, Steve would have to help me out on this, a prejudicial statement, and then I think we need to review the situation of that. But if, as we sort of said, as Louise is saying, it was just about a particular instance.
You said it was her experience in the past. Sorry, Martin, I'm just clarification.
Okay, but all I'm sort of saying, we can review that particular instance, and then we will have to make a decision based on that. I'll bring Rebecca Child in now.
Oh yeah, it was just to say that I've read quite a few reports on like combating antisocial behaviour, and just that putting in any free facilities for young people tends to see marked improvement in antisocial behaviour. So I'm really pro this basketball hoop.
Okay, thank you very much. Pam, please.
If there's a hoo-ha about it, then why can't we go directly to our own PCSOs and ask them to give us advice on what we should do and ask them to do it rather than doing it through a counsellor? Is that just a compromise to work directly with PCSOs?
But the proposal is, it's actually on the proposal that Councillor Louise Thomas drew up an outgoing users and residents engagement programme.
Not acceptable.
But you know, all I'm sort of saying, that is what's on the proposal. We would have to review what was said at the sort of meeting to have a look if there was a prejudicial statement made. Rebecca?
Well, when can you do that, Chair? Sorry, Chair. When can we do that?
So I think I might be able to provide some assistance here. So the suggestion is not that Louise draws it up, delivers it, reports back, and does all of that solo. All of our sports and recreation facilities are managed through committee. So, you know, what we're asking is for Louise to draw up a plan. That plan would be reviewed by committee, and all reports against it would be reviewed by committee. Okay. And we would, you know, as Will's just requested, we would expect a report direct from the PCSOs to be considered by that committee. So yeah, I do want it to be clear that no councillor actually ever operates completely solo. Yeah, I hope that provides some reassurance.
Yeah, I think that gives us a clear plan going forward. Thank you for that, Rebecca. Okay, are we happy with that? Okay, yes. So if that's the case,
Chair, so can I just give? I had several emails about this which I passed on to the committee, but there was a couple that come in subsequently, and one of the recommendations was that we explore getting a better quality backboard, which is less noisy. So I said I'd pass that request on to council. So rather than have a normal standard, cheap wooden one, that is less noisy, but probably more expensive, could be used instead.
That does make sense, actually, Clerk, because it makes a difference.
Sarah, could you wait to speak in? Rebecca Fogarty.
Yeah, good idea, Steve. I've done quite a lot of research on basketball hoops recently. You might be aware. £4,000 is quite generous for this facility. So I think there would be room within that budget to be looking at different types of hoop. So I think possibly if council agreed up to £4,000 and then gave the clerk and Paul leeway to explore that option, I think that could be a compromise.
Okay, thank you for that, Rebecca. Will?
Yeah, just on that, Rebecca, if you remember, the reason it's 4,000 is the tarmac cost was because it needs skimming over with tarmac. So I think that was largely a large part of the quote. So that might not be the case, but very good idea to get a better backboard, because the ball actually, I don't know if anyone's ever played basketball. I used to play a lot when I was younger. The ball comes off a high quality backboard quite. It's better experience to play the game, definitely, and yeah, higher quality backboard is definitely less noisy, so it is something we should probably look at. You know, Paul, would we be able to, you know, obviously we're not going to spend money for the sake of it, but what about allocating an extra £1,000, for example, and spend up to 5,000 on the whole project, and that way we would, you know, we're not going to spend it if we don't need to, obviously, so that would potentially be a way forward.
Okay, personally, I suppose stepping away from a little bit here is that I think any sort of way that we can reduce the amount of disturbance to people surrounding is bound to be a good thing, really. Carrie?
Yeah, I mean, it's similar to what Will has just said. Yeah, can we somehow change the recommendation to make it slightly broader than just 4,000, you know, estimated at 4,000, taking into account a high quality backboard in order to reduce noise reduction, and then if it does go over 4,000, hopefully how we've written it will allow that to be spent without kind of feeling that we've actually gone against what was agreed at this meeting.
Okay, then, so are we talking about an amendment of upping it to £5,000?
I just thought we leave it sort of, I don't know if we can word it in some way, estimated at £4,000, subject to confirmation of the additional costs of a high quality backboard or something, so that we've got that leeway then to pay more without having to come back and ask again at full council.
Steve, your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think that at no more than 5,000 just allows you to do that.
Yeah.
I've added Carrie's wording as well, if you're happy with that.
Yeah.
A high quality backboard for noise cancelling, so it's clear in the resolution. And Chair, I also included a 6-month liaison with relevant PSOs in part 2. So those are sort of 2 amendments there. If you want to.
Okay, so should we vote? I move it straight to a vote on the first amendment, which is, Steve, can you read it out?
A high quality, well, it's the same as before, but inserting a high quality backboard for noise cancelling. And then it reads as normal, yeah.
Okay, so all those in favour of that? Are we all in favour? Yeah, okay. So then the second amendment, Steve?
Yeah, inserting after programme to include 6-month liaison with the relevant PSOs.
Okay, we all in favour of that? Yeah, okay, so can we move on? Have we got a?
Yeah, just do the main motion.
Yeah.
Yeah.
PCSOs.
So all those, can you read the main motion? Oh, I've got the main motion.
Yeah, do you want me to read it? Well, I've got it
Yeah.
with the amendments here. Yeah, of course, yeah. The resolution is MCC accepts Swansea Council's quote to supply and install 1 basketball post ring, a high quality backboard for noise cancelling and a net, plus thermoplastic line markings for a half court on existing tarmac area, which will be recovered at a cost of no more than at a total cost, I think it should read really, of no more than £5,000. Point 2, Councillor Louise Thomas to draw up an ongoing users and residents engagement programme to include 6-month liaison with the relevant PSOs.
Okay, all those in favour of that? Okay, I think that's carried then. So are we happy to move on to point 11, questions to Chair of the Community and Social Development Committee?
Richard is
Richard's
waving.
waving at you.
Sorry, Richard.
Oh, it is. What we came up with, great. However, I think we're going to put up a number of basketball hoops around the area.
Yeah.
Should this be applied to the others as well? Makes common sense.
Can I come back to that, Martin?
Go on, Rebecca, go on. Go on.
Yeah, I think, well, I can take it as a question to the chair, if you like, Richard, because I made the point at committee that we probably ought to have a better system of reviewing our sports and rec facilities across the patch, reviewing, the maintenance standard, how well are they being used, who are they being used by, are we really meeting all of the needs, to have like a more holistic overview of everything that we offer across Mumbles. So yeah, I completely support that approach. I think it would just take a little bit of work for us to be able to, it's not going to happen overnight. We need to think about how we do it.
Okay, Sarah.
Yeah, as long as it's applied evenly everywhere. I mean, for bowls, I've had complaints about the Grange School going down for the bowls and not being able to play bowls. Well, they were finally allowed to, but things like that, yes. If we cover all of the sports and not just basketball, which certain people seem to be quite biased about, yeah, that's fine.
Okay, thank you for that. Okay, so have we got any more questions for the Chair of Community and Social Development Committee? Sarah, have you still got your hand up, or is it a legacy hand, as Rebecca likes to say? I think she's gone, so I'm taking this legacy hand. Recommendations for the Finance and Compliance Committee. Sculpture by the Sea grant application. Grant application for £3,000 towards their annual festival. You'll see the grant application in your meeting pack. Is there anybody who's going to want to speak to this, or do we just take it just as the application as it stands? Application just as it stands? Okay, so all those in favour of this grant applications? Okay, I think that's carried. Thank you. Right, point 13, Mumbles Traders grant application for 1,650 towards the cost of the annual Christmas lights parade event being held on Thursday, the 25th of November 2021. That's a retrospective one. Sarah, you want to say something? Oh, sorry, thought you had your pen up. Right. Again, this is a retrospective one. I was there at the night. I thought it was an absolutely fantastic night, to be honest. It was great to see so many people out in Mumbles. So can we move this straight to the vote? All those in favour? Okay, that's carried again. Questions for the Chair of the Finance and Compliance Committee? No questions. Recommendations from the Environmental Committee. Climate Pledge. Recommended that the MCC sign Swansea Council's Climate Pledge. Anybody want to say anything on this, or do you want to make this go straight to the vote as well? Straight to the vote then on this. All those in favour? That's covered. Questions to the Chair of the Environmental Committee? No. Right. Questions to the Chair of the Culture and Tourism and Communications Committee? No. So then we will go on to point 18. Now, it's been raised in relation to point 18 that we may be discussing some commercially sensitive issues. And there has been a suggestion that we discuss this in camera, as I sort of said before. So before we decide one way or the other, we'll need to put this to the vote. Will, did you want to say something?
Yeah, just that I'm quite happy with it being discussed in public. I don't know what, obviously it's up to others in the majority, but I just like to, say that we should discuss it in public whenever possible. I'm confident it's fine to do so.
Okay. I would just add my own point of view in relation to this. I personally have got no problem with discussing it in public, depending on the nature of the discussions, but there are certain points of information that if people want to discuss, I think that we owe it to our project partners and the other stakeholders involved to discuss those in confidence, because they are commercially sensitive issues.
Yeah.
So that is the point I was making there. Rebecca Childs.
How do we know which points are the commercially sensitive ones?
That is a very good point, and that's why I'm probably supporting that we go into camera just in general, because then it doesn't restrict our conversation in any way.
Thanks.
Rebecca Fogarty.
Yeah, I think we do need to go into closed session, not least because councillors who are not part of the joint working group may well have questions that, if we're in closed session, we can provide some, open and frank information based on our experience as members of the joint working group, which is after all what you voted for us to be. If we're not in closed session, we're just going to end up it feeling like smoke and mirrors when it's not. I definitely think we need to, in the interest of us being able to have an open conversation, we need to move into closed session.
Full and frank discussion. Richard?
Yeah, in principle, I think it's a great idea to have it just open to everyone to hear. However, in the grand scheme of things, we could leave ourselves open to litigation. We could cause problems with our partners. So to protect them and protect us and protect the taxpayer, I think closed session.
Okay, then. So I think we've had a discussion about whether we should go into closed session now. So if I move it to the vote, all those in favour of going to a closed session, can you indicate now? Okay, all those against? Any abstaining? Okay,
Actually, I'll abstain.
okay. Well, whichever way, I think it's carried now. So Steve, can you go into closed session, and those who are not councillors